All right. Okay, guys. So this will be the Northeastern representatives interviews. So we're going to start with the questions submitted. Um, I'll bounce back and forth between each one of you. For those that don't know, we have Jay Brooks, Alexey. How do you say your last name?
Kasyanov.
Kasyanov. Okay. So Alexey and Jay. If you guys are in the area, you probably know either one. So to start off, why don't you guys go ahead and give me just introduce yourselves, who you are, how long you've been fighting, where you've been fighting, and what you do. And yeah, we'll start with that. Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
Alexey, go ahead.
Thank you, Jay.
First.
I started this movement called BoD many years ago, before even HMB didn't exist. Okay, I saw the sport become a sport. There wasn't much I can tell about that. I tried my first armor on, and here I am. I actively fight already 11 years, which is solid, I guess. Now I here in Boston of Massachusetts visit Northward, our independent club. So that's pretty much it. Jay.
Yeah, go for it, Jay.
All right. Well, I'm Jay Brooks. I've been involved with steel combat since 2011. And then before that, I did SCA fighting since 1981. So I've been involved in armored combat in some way, shape, or form for probably 38 years, 39 years. I own the Knights Hall, which is a full-time training school here in Nashua, New Hampshire. We train fighting, we have throw fighting events, and I'm also one of the owners of Armored Combat Sports, which is there to promote our sport, get us insurance, and allow us to hold events.
All right. I don't know why it keeps bouncing back and forth between me and everything else. Oh, shit. That's not good. Oh, fuck. Are you guys seeing this? Did I just
I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll go back to that. Anyways, I'm just going to stop presenting. That's fine. All right, so first question is, you have a magic wand. You can wave it over the sport and change something, whatever you want. What would that be? Whether it be to improve the sport, an aspect you want to change. Alexey went first last time, so how about Jay? You start us off.
Sure. If I had a magic wand, I'd try to, try to get us to do bigger events together, where we can roll regional events in a systematic way that will allow us to not only get fighters exposure to each other, but to get our referee staffs up-trained. So we need a regular circuit of fighting happening in each region to make that all occur. And if I had a magic wand, that's what I'd do. I'd make sure that there were regional event schedules set up so that everyone in a region could travel on any given weekend to an event that could either be a fighting event or a training event, where we are constantly growing our skill sets and enjoying the thing that we all enjoy so much.
Great. And Alexey.
So in the beginning it was hobby, okay? Before BoD, before ACL, before HMB, before everything. So in post-Soviet Union countries, every single fighter came in this sport and as a hobby, okay? In the United States, I see many people comes in with attitude, this is a sport, okay? I would change this perspective and make people think that they do hobby first of all, not a sport. Then comes sport. Okay, this sport might push a bunch of people off because that, and I know some people don't want to go for this, because they feel pressure, and everyone calls it sport. All right. People will enjoy it if it will be a hobby. Okay. When they feel comfortable, they will change their attitude or not change their attitude about the sport. Okay. If I have a wand, I would change this. Okay.
Excellent. All right. And have you guys read over the current proposal for the HMB USA team selection for Battle of the Nations?
I have.
Alexey, have you read that?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
All right. So the next two questions are going to pertain to that proposed process, because once one of you is elected to the board, we will be voting as the board to finalize this or change it. So we'd like you to tell us, what is one thing about the current process of selecting Team USA that you do not like or you would change? Alexey, how about you go first?
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say change, but I would love to say add to. I like everything what you described into that list, but I would love to add there more national practices. Okay. Besides national tournaments, I see people travel around with thoughts to beat each other, not to be as an one united team. Okay, I think these team buildings, these practices can change it. All right, so we try and build a national team here, and we should cooperate more, and we have to work together and practice together. I don't see much practices like this in USA. Okay, I'd say 2-3 national practices would be good.
Excellent. All right, Jay, how about you?
So I have read through it, and for this year, having 2 events to travel to, one outside of your region, and then a national qualifier, that works for our current environment, our COVID year that we've got here. Traveling a little bit, 5 hours plus outside of a region, that's normal behavior for a lot of the folks who are trying to make international teams. Long term, what I'd like to see happen is that if we get these regional teams or these regional leagues working together, you could get statistics on fighters and really start to hammer down and selecting who the best people are, not necessarily the ones who travel the most, but we might be able to find people who are great at takedowns and assists and just good fighters that just don't get the exposure, who don't get the popularity out there. And down the road, we should put in some sort of statistics mechanism to help us evaluate our fighters. So it's not just based off of the performance in a single tournament, but it's based off of a performance over a period of time. But in this current environment, what we have, or what you guys have outlined, is a great outline for today.
All right. Now, we've talked about what we would change. What is something of that proposal thing? What was your favorite part? Like, you're talking to your fighters and you're promoting part of it. What was your favorite part of the current selection process in your mind? And Jay, we'll start with you.
Well, so it's very similar to how Clemson was done for IMCF, whereas the first 3 teams get the 5-on-5 teams, and then after that they fill into the other slots. I like that in a year where you don't have statistics, in a year where you could have a difference between 2 teams of 1 man standing in round 3. You don't know that team's not going to be the winner, at a large event. But once we have statistics, then we'll be able to integrate that into selection process. But the process as is, I really like it for this year.
Excellent. And Alexey.
Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. So as I said, I do like what you put in there, and I agree with Jay that this institution is a good thing. Only one thing I would say about that: we need more national election tournaments. You said that the team or the individual fighter should participate at least two nationals. I'd say we every single region have to host national event and make statistics of that. How many points the team got, how many points the individual fighter got, something like that. So I'd say I really like the idea of amount of national tournaments, national events.
All right. This is going to be a little more of a professional question. Are you connected via networking with any corporations, businesses, or organizations for fundraising potential to HMB USA? Essentially, and as we understand, not everybody does, but do you have anything special that you can bring as a connection to the board? Alexey, we'll start with you.
Yes, we have several. We still work on the details. I don't want to call their names yet before we get something established. But if we will bring something, it definitely will be something solid for everyone, not for only our region, but the sport and hobby in general.
All right, Jay. Good.
Jay.
I think we might have lost Jay.
No.
I don't see his camera anymore. Nor do I hear him. We hear Eric. There you go. Fixed that real quick. Well, I will keep track of what questions I'm asking, just to keep things rolling. Alexey, if you don't mind, I'll just shoot through these with you. When Jay comes back, I'll have him catch up and do the same. And hopefully, if Larry's got the time before he puts it up on YouTube, he can just cut in between and re-splice the questions to. Well, then you're the only one that can see it, Eric. Oh, nope, he's gone. All right. Well, anyways, okay, so Alexey, you talked about your connections. What does representing the Northeast region mean to you, and why do you personally want to fulfill this role on the board?
I would say and put it this way. I moved to Boston 5-6 years ago. And 2 years ago, this place became my home. So I will and I want to represent my home, my family, my club, everything what I love. So, and I think this is a lot. All right. And I have feeling that that our region can be one of the best.
All right.
I'm back. Sorry, internet dumped me out.
No worries. While we got you, we will ask you the following question: what connections professionally do you have to offer the region? Get that?
Well, not just the region, but the sport. I have some connections that I've made over the past couple of years. One of those connections I've had for about a decade, but I didn't want to utilize, that has offered to help out a little bit. So I would love to get them involved and get us involved with them. It'll help us with venues quite a bit across the board, but I'm not going to divulge your name at the moment.
All right. And then the question I had Alexey answer while you were gone was, what does representing the region mean to you, and why do you personally want to fulfill this role?
So I feel that we have an amazing region here with 70 plus fighters closing. Once the season's done, COVID season's done, and they're done armoring up, we'll have close to 100 fighters in just the New England area. And when you look at New York and New Jersey added to that, that is really close to 150 to 200 fighters that could be doing regional events pretty regularly, at least once a quarter. And then, but the thing is, you got to have events. You've got to host these things and make them happen. And I feel that I have the background of event running to make that occur. And also, what I'd like to do is make sure that all of those folks feel like they're represented nationally, and make sure that we're traveling to New York, that we're traveling to New Jersey, that we're traveling to Western New York, where we have fighters out in Central and Western New York now. So we need to make sure that they are feeling included in everything as well, not just stuck to a couple of clubs that are used to doing HMB. I'd like to get it through all of what used to be ACL, ACS, W, any of the groups that are out there, have them all be able to participate and show that they can be part of a national team. There's a lot of talent here, and they needs to be represented.
All right, great. Something that catches you guys both up on questions. Next one is essentially going to be the same question asked from two different points of view. So for this next question, really, talk to your constituents, talk to the people in your area, and especially the people that may not know you, and specifically as a fighter, right? Talk to the fighters out there. What are you bringing to the table as their representative to the fighters? What value would a fighter who's just there to fight, what value does that person get voting for you over your opponent or over anyone else for that matter? So really, what do you bring to the table to the fighter? Jay, we'll start with you.
I think Alexey has a lot of background in this, and he brings a lot to the table as well. But what we both do is we both like training new fighters and helping fighters through their journey in this sport, where they're getting the right equipment, making sure that they get the equipment, that they're trained properly, that they're athletically inclined to be able to do the things that they want to do, and to help them on that path, whether that's the hobby end of it or the sport end of it. Everyone needs to be find their place within the sport, and I feel that both of us as candidates can do that.
All right. Alexey?
Yep, I completely agree with Jay. Only one thing I want to add for existing fighters. I can bring up something for mass battles. Okay, I have been involved in many fighters, like 100 on 100, 120 versus 120, 50 versus 20, no, 50, etc., etc. So I can bring this kind of experience for already exist fighters, for new fighters. Yeah, Jay already said everything about that. We can train them, we can put them in the armor, we can do a bunch of things like that. So.
Great, yeah, you guys are both, out of all the nominees for all the different regions, you guys are some of the leading guys in that aspect. So it was really interesting what you guys had for that question. Same question on the flip side. Now talk to the board, talk to the organization, talk professionally, talk to the business of HMB USA. What do you bring to the business, to the organization? You're going to be on a team. You're going to be working with myself and Gally and Desha and the number of the other board members. What are you bringing to the company or to the organization, essentially, So let's go from that. Alexey, we'll start with you.
Okay, back to the investments and everything. If everything works out on that side, will bring very valuable help to every team in whole United States, and this is what really been need for many years, I think. Talking business, you don't want to send me over to the sharks and talk to them, or put me on a microphone, stuff like that. Me as a person, I can do many things on the field, but I have people stand with me who also interested in success of United States, and we try do our best to bring something really solid for you.
All right, Jay.
Well, from a business standpoint in the sport, I have been involved with the writing of the rules for IMCF. I have managed a international fighting company for some time, started another one, which is growing rather rapidly. Worry and take care of insurance. I've managed to get insurance for IMCF rule sets and HMB rule sets specifically through Reenactors Insurance. I have a lot of experience with folks internationally and nationally, and I was a trained project manager for a decade or so.
All right. So that basically is going to cover it for the majority of the published questions, I believe. Just going to double check here real quick that I didn't miss any big ones. But all right. So in the Marine Corps, we have something. Which Desha question? Oh, yeah, I'll get to that. So in the Marine Corps, we have something called God Corps Country, which is supposed to, for most people, sound like an out of whack priority. We'll get to everyone's questions at the end there, Eric. Like I said, this is just the ones pre-discussed in the other interviews. But anyways, we have this thing, God Corps Country. It's supposed to sound, man, everybody's joining right now. Okay. It's basically a priority list, and for the Marine Corps, it's that I'm a Marine before I'm an American, right? That's the weird priority, is that I see myself as this before anything else. So for you guys both being trainers and instructors or fighters, we're very interested to see what your guys' priorities are. Call it the sport as a whole. You don't care what event it is, doesn't matter. You're just here to help, kind of don't care. HMB USA or HMB IA specifically, do you have a certain predisposed, like, oh man, blanking on the word. Crap. Anyways, do you have a love for HMBIA that's sentimental? Do you have a sentimental value to HMBIA? And then lastly, how about your local club? Is your local club your top priority? I know you guys are both instructors for the area, so your local home training facility for both of you guys is going to be very important. So we're just curious to see what your guys' priorities are. There's not a right or wrong answer. Jay, we'll start with you, if you understand.
Sure. Right. Sure. So for one, my loyalty is to the sport, to all the fighters across the entire sport, regardless of brand. So I'm not going to ride hard on any one brand. I am going to try and make sure that fighters are represented, are fighting, and are being trained. And my goal is for my regional fighters to achieve the things that they want to achieve within the boundaries of HMB and or the sport. So as far as that goes, that's where my loyalties lie, is to the sport itself. And as far as club goes, I've got 7 teams here training at the hall. I don't really care. All the teams are teams. I fight on one of them. I fight on the Executioners. Maybe I won't be by the end of this year. People are going to knock me out eventually. But those are just teams. those are just local clubs. That's not the sport. Teams can come and go, but the sport is here, and we're going to grow this thing and make this an everyday, every household word. So we're hoping that, or that's what I hope to do with my time within the sport.
All right. And Alexey.
Sure. So my team as my second family, I'd put it this way. And of course, will be priority for me. But HMB gave me crazy experience, which was priority for a long time. Okay. But this is only for me. My team stays independent. Okay, and I do my best to meet every expectations from the board and make sure that my team will have right priorities. Okay, we definitely will go nationals compared to maybe a small event of ACW or stuff like that. Or that's my answer. My club, and then HMB.
All right. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, the Desha question. So yes, the Desha question is: it's an election. Someone has to win. Someone has to lose, right? So if you do not win the election, are you still willing to volunteer to help the HMB board? Are you still, willing to volunteer essentially? And if so, what specific aspect would you be willing to volunteer in? We have different task forces or tasks that we're going to be issuing out once the board is created and finalized. Social media people, website, working on the website, videos, YouTubes, organized trainings. There's all kinds of different things the board has goals and wants to do, and we need people to do those things. So to simplify, you still willing to volunteer if you lose? And if so, what's an area you'd like to volunteer in? We'll start with Alexey.
Sure. So say it as a volunteer, I don't know. I will do what I supposed to do. I have a path. I have some checkpoints I need to do. And I believe that HMB path some sort of overlap with my path, and definitely will meet each other goals, and definitely I will be around. My door is always open, and if I lose, of course I will be involved in everything what's going on around steel fighting. Okay, that's not even a question. I'm down for it. That's why I'm here. Next.
Is there a specific area of expertise you would like to lend your experiences to?
I would love to host international events. I would love to have really big ass events. Okay, I would love to see all regions come here in New England. We have a cradle of whole entire United States history. Okay, and I would love to have other teams over the ocean. They already pre-submitted. They will come over, and that's what I want to do. I want to host events like that. I want to call other people. I want them have fun. I want them have great time, great memories being here, and that's what I'm volunteer to, I guess. And I would really love to collaborate with other captains, with Jaye includingly. I won't just have fun. Okay.
Great, brilliant events. That's a very important thing that we're all very motivated to do. All right, Jay, same question.
So same question. Over a year ago, I had a conversation with Jeff Galley and a number of folks from the older Team USAs, and we spoke about what had gone wrong here in this country. with our growth of the sport. And I committed to him to help him with HMB USA and to help him as much as I could. And when I saw that this opportunity showed up to put myself into a position to help, that's why I ran for the position, because I think that I fill a niche that is missing. That said, I'm going to run events, and I'm going to train people, and I'm going to train referees and try to get, you know, an actual referee system working here that isn't full of folks that are not fighters. I want to get fighters trained. We already have a regional system where all of our referees get trained, and all of our captains of all of our teams need to be trained as refs so they can step in to do that. I want as big a referee corps as we can get across the board for the sport, because right now we're really lacking there. And so when this is over, I'd like to be involved with that, involved with training, and involved with hosting mega events. You know, we've got the Legion Sports Fest going on out in Reno, and we have other opportunities just like that coming up here on the East Coast. And I want to make them large and grand events with people coming in from all over the world, just like Alexey said. So if this doesn't go my way, I'm still going to be working for the sport and trying to help out. And if Alexey wins and needs help on running events, then I'll help him out.
Excellent. Okay. That's just about it for all of the questions that we've asked all the other nominees for the other regions. If you guys have time to stay on, we're going to take questions from the viewers for probably pretty obvious reasons. 1 second. For pretty obvious reasons, you know, this particular interview has had quite a bit of attention to it. And probably going to be a lot of questions because there's more people viewing this than have watched the other regionals. So we're going to take some of these questions now. If you guys are both good with that, Alexey and Jay, you guys good?
Sure.
Fire away.
All right. So first question from Sloan, Alex Sloan. What do you bring to the table as far as helping the women's division grow? So let's start with Alexey. How do you see helping the women's division?
I'd say obviously I will do more events, but I willing to travel places and train them hard and make them struggle. Okay, I see the real lack of their not experience, but taking the fight. If you look bunch of their videos, they do pretty much hugs instead of actual fight, and I would love to fix it. And I'd be down to travel around the country and set couple open practices for girls. Why not?
Excellent. And Jay.
Well, my record probably stands for itself there, whereas I helped get women's fighting here in the United States. If you talk to Bess Mortimer, you'll hear the story about it. But so I helped get that going. And since then, I've been supporting women's fighting here in New England. We started women's teams here. We started having women's only events. And we have women's training events here at the school. And also, I've gone and done seminars for it. So I'm willing to go train women fighters. I really am pushing for 5-on-5s for women. I know we did that for ACS. We wanted 5-on-5s for women, and we put it in there. And I'd love to see that happen for HMB as well, where everything's 5-on-5. But we need to grow it to make that happen. So let's get more women fighting and training and having a good time doing this. And I think that's the important part, is to make sure that they're not being mansplained, which is a common occurrence when you get women fighters, that every guy wants to bend over and, tell them how to do it. And half the women know more than half the guys telling them what to do. So want to make sure that that doesn't happen, create a safe environment for that training to occur.
All right. I'm going to, Josh, I get what you're asking, but this is not a national representative. These are for a region. So I'm going to tweak your question slightly. And it's, how do you plan to support fighter training within your region? Right? So let's try to keep it to your region and the guys local to you, since that is who you will be representing. If that's okay with Josh, I think that's the better question. So how do you plan to support fighter training in your region? Jay, we'll start with you. Training.
Supporting training in the regions. Well, for one, we've got this school here, but I've scheduled and have scheduled on a number of occasions trainings in other areas, whether it's either myself or someone from the school going to train there. In a couple of weeks, I'm going out to Central New York. It's been delayed 3 times because of COVID, but we're going out to Central New York to train about 20-something folks out in the Oneonta area. And then we've got a training in the South Shore of Boston that I'll be heading down there to train, 20, 25 people that are supposed to be down in that area. So as this region needs training, and as there's a request for it, we'll make sure that training happens. I've gone down to New York City a number of times to train.
All right. And Alexey, I know you talked about training, so how about you elaborate on that for your region?
So in the North Court, we have a bunch of people from different states: New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts, different parts of it. So my plan is to set up small stations in different areas where people could come over as in a regular gym and practice there. Okay. Simple peel work helps a lot, and I better set up those stations at my backyard's fighters who's experienced enough to lead at least bases for that. So when the new fighter comes into our regular hours, they might know already something. So it will be easier for us to adjust their knowledge and give them a homework.
All right. Brilliant. All righty. Eric, like I said, try to provide us questions that both nominees can answer. I'm trying not to single any one specific person out, especially with that question. We don't.
That's all right. He can ask that question. I'm not afraid to answer that. It's pretty simple. There's really no conflict of interest. The Knights Hall is a training school that trains people. We host events, and we have insurance, and we do events. If we are involved with HMB, then we are hosting, hopefully we'll host HMB events, and it will just fit into the model. It's not like there's much money made on anything. So it's not like it's a money thing. So what really needs to occur is that realize is that there are going to be fighting schools starting up all over the country. In fact, there are now. And those schools are going to need to do some sort of model to fund themselves. And running small events to fund themselves is not really that big a deal. You're going to have Vegas is running small events. LA is running events. Every group is going to run events, right? And from an ACS or a Knights Hall standpoint, HMB is not a conflict. We're just going to run events. And if they're HMB events, then that's where the money goes.
And
sorry, Alexey, that question was only for Jay.
No
anything? Do you have any reason to chime in?
So again?
I said that was only really for Jay, so we'll move on.
I mean, I disagree that Alexey runs a school. Does he not have a gym? I mean, it's a stupid question, but it's still a question.
Oh, I didn't
So does Alexey see this as a conflict of interest with his gym?
Not really. We are, as I said before, we are independent, and we just pick and choose where we can go. And if we host open practice or event or something, I do my best to reach out to locals and make sure that there are nothing on the list, but it's never happened smoothly. Let's put it this way. So collaboration, work together is a key, I guess. So simple communication will resolve this issue, and there will be no conflict of interest, I'd say.
All right, so I'm actually I think I can combine these two questions together from Anton and Danilo.
Yes, Danilo.
So I'll say it this way: what are some of your guys' thoughts and strategies for attracting new people to the sport to be fighters, and what are your guys' plans or strategies for attracting fans to the sport? Alexey, we'll start with you.
Mm-hmm. I'd say simple leverages like put a lot of pressure into mass media and call them over to the events. It's first of all. The second, go to the TV, not that TV show. I'm sorry, Jay, but something what has a real model, actual fights, large boogers, 5-on-5. I can give you a simple example. When you go bar, you can see on TV screens championship of darts. God damn it! You can see curling. Oh my God! But there are no boogers. And I'd say we need to go that direction, and not to make a single TV show, but we need to hook up with people who filming those kind of games. We need to look for those kind of people, and if we'll find right connections for that, and if they will run our videos into the bars, first of all, it will bring some people, I'd say.
Brilliant. Yeah, completely agree with that. All right, Jay. Oops.
So for one, I think we need to have events. So I host currently 20, 25 events a year. We get crowds at those. Some of them are small crowds, but we get new people at each one of those, and they become new people looking to get involved. We get folks wanting to do foam fighting. We help them do foam fighting. They want to head towards other things. We help them towards other things. What we are not getting enough of is national television coverage since our last show, since the night fight show. We haven't gotten much of it. But this has been an odd year. We were supposed to get some press on a few things this summer, but most of that's been, kicked to the curb because of COVID. Involving the local television, radio, and print media for your events is a crucial point. And that's one of the things that we'll be doing for our event in October in Reno, is making sure that we get that media involved. It was through media here at the Knights Hall that we were able to get a television show to happen. Now, the show wasn't exactly the way we wanted it, but it happened because of Boston Globe coming here to the Knights Hall and folks seeing it on Boston Globe, because folks on AJ Plus coming to see this stuff. And if we can reach out and get these folks to come to us and they see what we're doing, they put it out there, and we get 1 million views or 2 million views or 100,000 views. And eventually the people that we want to film us will see it and come to us to help, put something out there. We've talked with ESPN in the past. ESPN wanted us to pay for it, which, if you understand how the industry works, that's kind of how that works. So we have to find someone that's looking for something a little like a Red Bull or some alternative channel, Geek and Sundry, somewhere along there, to find us and to put us onto their network, on their streaming network, or build our own that enough people will watch. So that means we have to have enough content.
All right. So I'm gonna let's see, looking through some of these questions. How are you guys doing? You guys good to answer a few more?
Sure, I'm good.
Alexey, you're good?
Yep, shoot.
Cool. Yeah, we'll keep going. So this was brought up earlier about, I know, Alexey, you mentioned mass battles. So what are your guys' thoughts on, for your region specifically, on how to train more fighters for mass battles, and how to what are your guys' strategies for encouraging more large team fights? Alexey, we'll start with you.
Fucking yell on them, okay? People are people, and people are not always think what they do. All right, people usually get used to fighting 5 for 5. They don't understand the distance. They don't understand each other. They don't understand other team who is on the same side with you. When they are in a fight, they can hit somebody from their side by the accident, and they don't realize it. They just go for it. So I'd say at least start with marching in lines. At least start with that. There are issues unfortunately issues of United States team. There are great independent individual teams, but when those teams get together in one line, there are miscommunication, discommunication. Okay, there are no communication between teams at all. So I'd say start with a marching in lines, with every single step, with the commands and stuff like that. So this is a key for success participants at Battle of the Nation in 21, 16s, and so on and so on.
Great, brilliant. All right, Jay.
So I would take this a different direction, and I would say let's get folks doing those 10-on-10s more often. So you can't have a mass battle without having massive fighters, and so you have to get them used to being at one location together and putting on all their gear and going out there. So you do some 10-on-10 fights, you do 16-on-16s, and you do some all-on-alls, and you do that as a regular thing. Make folks realize that we can fight in battles of 30-on-30, 50-on-50, 100-on-100 plus. I've done that in another sport where there's 1,000 guys out on the field at once, right? And units are moving around. We can do this. Yeah, Penzic War. Sometimes there's 1,500 guys doing it. All right, so you can get that out there by getting more people fighting together. And we just have to get people to show up at events and actually have armor. So we really need to have people armored up, and that's the first goal, is to get those new guys armored up. So, and then show them how fun a mass battle can be, and show that they're less likely to get hurt when they fight in an open field as opposed to up against rails. So the rails are the danger zone in mass battles. That's where people go up against the rails and just get beat to hell. But if you do open field battles like they do in Ukraine, like we just fought in last year in Ukraine, people get knocked out, chased out, or taken down in the field. And it's a lot different. And it's a lot safer for regular fighters to get involved. And you're not likely to get broken in it. So we can do big battles. We just have to change the conditions of the field to allow for it. And that's, if you're fighting last man battles, then maybe that's not what you want to do in a fenced-in area. You might want to, those mass battles do capture the flags, right? But if you've got an open field, use that open field and have a big mass battle.
Interesting.
Okay, can I add something to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as I've mentioned before, national trainings might fix that a little bit. So if people comes to those national trainings, that's the place where we can work on those kind of things. Okay, we can play games like a capture the flag and stuff like that. So we might not only focus on 5s on 5s, stuff like that. We can create a bunch of scenarios.
Large battle events.
Right, or large battle events, stuff like that. As I said before, international teams who might comes over, they can give extra numbers. We have Canada right here. We can beat their tests, for example. So there are ways how we can get people together. There are ways how we can get better as a national team, being a national team, not individual teams or hero fighters, stuff like that. So
very cool. No, definitely love mass battles, so that's a good one. So Eric, I'm not sure if I don't think I know you, but the question about yellow cards, I know Blue Hurt League has a specific way of dealing with that, tracking that. Same thing with other HMB tournaments. So they want to skip through that because it's not really their opinion.
Yeah, later on, you guys can talk to me about the CDC. This is Larry speaking, by the way. I know we don't have video up. You can talk to me about the CDC and all that kind of stuff. That has absolutely nothing. HMB USA has no. We don't have any decision making in that. That is handed down from on high to us, and we fill out the paperwork.
Yeah, so I'm gonna skip through that one. From Derek posing as Medieval Steel Fighting Sports. Derek wants to know, and actually this is a fairly good question for a lot of newer guys coming into the sport. What is your stance on training or fighting to hurt opponents when the majority of opponents are USA fighters? Alexey, we'll start with you.
Okay, let me read it again.
What is your stance on training or fighting to hurt opponents when the majority of opponents are USA fighters?
And I think what he's meaning is injure, not hurt, maybe.
Yeah.
Or because
I try to hurt my teammates.
How to protect them from the injuries?
Well, I think what Derek's trying to get by is, for example, Russian League, they don't attack known unarmored areas, right? They don't.
Sometimes.
Well, they're unarmored areas intentionally, right?
They like you.
We don't have anything like that in the USA. You could be fighting somebody and then you just straight up shoot them right in the ass, and then a month later they're on your team nationally or not because you broke them. So I think a better way to phrase this is, what is your guys' opinion on the brutality of fighting other Americans to go to national tournaments, to go to international things? Is it a don't break brothers mentality, fight as hard as you can, but don't do anything cheap? Or train how you fight, go for the kill shot, or go for that gappy shot and do what you have to do to win in the United States domestically?
I mean, this should be or this needs to be regulated by the marshals. It's first of all, they have to be trained very well. Jay already mentioned that, and this should be in the heads of the fighters first of all. If they want to hurt someone, like actually give a injury, this is a dick move. Okay, if you get injured someone, you get injured or no to the next fight. So you act by the logic. You act as how you want to other fighters act to you back. Okay, the safety is first. You don't attack obvious zones like balls, eyes, knees, and stuff like that. I'm not saying don't hit hard. Please do hit hard. It's good, but don't hit open places. Okay, and you have to think. Okay, you have brain and you have to use it. If you break someone, you break someone knee. I mean, dude, good job, I guess. You broke someone's knee. So something like that. But if Marshall catch that, the Marshal should give her the red card, and the board should decide about the fighter directly, how they gonna how they punish him. Okay, if the board will ban one or two fighters for that, I think other people will think about it. I hope you understand my statement.
Make an example.
So, and then I'll take my end on that.
Yes, please, Jay.
All right. So personally, for one, we're fighting in a fighting sport. Getting hurt is part and parcel of it. Now, what we want to try to do is mitigate that, and mitigate injuries is what we're trying to not have injuries. So if a person is purposely injuring other people and it can be proven, one, we need to put a record of that through the marshalate, and then two, expel them from the sport if that's what they're actually doing. Right? So if they're purposely coming in just to hurt people, they need to leave. They don't belong here. That's not what this is about. If they're coming in here to fight and give it their all and win for their team, if they cannot do the crippling shot to make that guy go down, then don't do that crippling shot to make the guy go down. Try to hit him in the body armor, right? That's partly why I stopped hitting people in the back of the head, because I was knocking people out too often. So I just dropped the shot down into the back, to the lung area, so I wouldn't knock people out as much. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to make sure that armor's good, but then we've got to make sure that we're trying to not break our toys in the name of winning. Now, if I do that against, if I try to hold back against one of the top teams, I'm going to get steamrolled, right? And so there are points in this sport where you're competing against each other where it's more or less unfettered. You have to give it your all. They have to give it your all within the rules to win. Now, beating up hobbyists is not what we're all about. You shouldn't be just going and beating up rookies. That's a bad thing. And that needs to stop if that's happening.
Right. All right. Another one from Sloan. Earlier, it was mentioned about having a safe environment for women and mansplaining. So I think knowing that this is an issue with any male-driven environment, I know the military personally struggles with this, and you know we have about the same female-to-male ratio here. Let's see. What is your approach to altering the way females are treated? And you know, if you see that, what is your approach to kind of improving the environment for the female fighters? Jay, we'll start with you.
Well, first off, it's education, you know, and honestly, you need to get some of these folks who want to tell everyone what they know and they're really trying to hit on someone, but they're terrible at it, to stop trying to explain to someone that, you know, this is a fighting environment, not a dating environment. So let them worry about flirting later. So training is training. They need to create a training environment. We need to make sure that if there are folks who are being sexist in any way, that they're being dealt with. But another way to help with that, and it's going to happen on its own, is as women become more experienced in training. Like we had Beth Hammer come out here to train folks. No one interrupted Beth because Beth knew what she was doing and controlled her class and taught a class, right? So, as people have expertise, then they take control of their class and are able to help train people. As more women come on board as trainers, you're going to have less of that occurring, in my opinion.
All right, and Alexey.
I'd say first of all, I would keep girls fighting off the men's fighting. I think the issues comes from there when the guy feels that he is way stronger than girl. He might take her as a weakness part, I guess. I don't know how to put it other way. I'd say better keep them separately. Okay, the training, yes, maybe, but do your best to find more sparring partners for the girls, and that's how the guys might respect the girls. They fight their own way. They fight their girls fight their own way. Guys fight their own way. Don't mix it up. Okay, the girls want to prove, the guys just hit them right in the jaw once, and then they make fun of that. Stuff like that. They don't take them much seriously, as what I saw. And if I see that someone might make a jokes about that, I definitely say something. And I'm gonna say very rude things to that.
All right. Very good. So far, we have one question left, unless Amateur Football Charities New England has anything. And this is coming from.
He's asking the Bobby D questions, which I think we've gone through.
Well, he has to ask. I'm not going to look him up. He late submitted. That's on him. If he posts them here, I'll ask him. I don't want to.
Well, some of the folks here have been posting those.
Okay, good. All right. So from Josh, where is it here? How do you plan to handle issues that come from, let's say, a problematic person? Once again, you'll be on the board. You will deal with this as a board member, but and once again, that's sort of a team vote. So why don't we change it up to say this? Say there's been a formal complaint against a person's whatever behavior, and it's come to the board, and we're going to vote on it. What are some of your solutions to handling a problematic person once a complaint has been filed? Alexey, let's start with you.
Depends on the issue. If he talks shit about other fighters, talk shit in Facebook, I mean, not much. But if he do some real crazy things, just ban them off the events or any movements of our sport. And if he comes, ignores him. If he still keep pull his nose, do some more things like conversation. And if he don't understand, then call cops probably. I'm not sure how you guys deal with that in USA. Okay, in Ukraine we just can beat the shit of the guy. So I cannot do that. I might just talk to him. If he don't understand, I will ignore him. If he still comes over, I will call the cops. This is probably the way what I honestly could do. Okay. If you have some other leverages, Jay, please go for it. Teach me on that.
So we have recently had some difficult people online lately. We've had a myriad of political things going on, but we also had one person who was threatening damage to people online, not outside of the fighting field, just threatening people. And no, it's not the guy from New York City this time. So for Derek, it's not that guy. This is another guy who is threatening violence to fighters and non-fighters alike off the field. And we discussed it with him. We said, hey, stop this. He continued with the behavior. In fact, he got belligerent with one of the people trying to get him to stop. So then we had to sunset him from our group. And that's what we're going to have to deal with in the future. Any organization has to deal with it. But the trick is you have to make sure you document it, that you do some coaching with it, because maybe they're just socially incompetent and need some direction. But if they can't contain themselves and control themselves and are a threat to our sport in general, then we need to do away with them and get rid of them.
All right. Yep. That's essentially what's been going on a lot lately for some reason. I don't know why. All right. I think you already covered this, Jay, when you said, you'd be doing HMB events, but Amateur Football Charities New England asks if
that's
the
a question we answered earlier. And honestly, if we're doing HMB events, then we're run HMB events, right? Yeah. So as I said to Jeff a year ago, when we discussed, HMB and reunifying the country, we talked about doing HMB stuff out here, which we haven't done in a while, certainly not at the hall and in the Northeast that much. But we can certainly start hosting HMB events if that's what the demand of the fighters in the region want, right? And so it's really up to the fighters in the region. What rule set do you want to fight by this week, right? And then we can encourage them to go, hey, look, we're going to hold an HMB event because there are folks who are trying to train for HMB stuff. Let's hold HMB style of events and with HMB rule sets. But we have to make sure we have referees trained for that. And that's part of the thing is we've got 2 rule sets that we can operate under. HMB operates under this one, and we can start doing HMB style events.
All right.
Just like they do in every other country across the globe. You go to Denmark, they have IMCF events and HMB events. And
really, that's what most clubs across the country are doing is, hey, we have an HMB event next month. Switch to HMB rules. Hey, we've got an IMCF event. Most of us do that anyways. So, well, that's it for the posted questions. That's it for the pop-up questions, and that's it for what's been posted in the chat. Once again, thank you guys very much. So now we will start to close. Alexey and Jay, if you guys would like to give a ending statement, a little blurb about yourself, about what you want to do, a little exit note, campaign for a minute or so. Please give your closing remarks now. Alexey, do you want to say something first?
Yes, I actually do have a question for you.
Sure.
If you don't mind. Could you please make it clear for everyone what the person should do to the league to be banned off?
For what we already have going on?
Yeah, like let's say there are other leagues which restrict other people to go someone's events, and they ban them. Is there should be some type of that or not?
Well, the way I've always seen it done, and like I said, I'm with the ACS and with the HMB board. Well, if I understand you correctly, you're asking about how it has been handled previously.
Brad.
Yeah.
Brad, you want me to step in?
Yeah. If you want,
okay.
I got a question, but
if I'm following what he's asking, so you're saying so ACS bans a fighter,
No,
And
not
then
not
HMB's response to that?
RTCS. I'm talking about RTCW. I heard things like one league banned this guy, other league banned
Oh,
this
yes.
guy
Okay. So
because he's going
HMB,
there because that guy goes there, and this is what
right.
I don't really understand because the freedom is a thing, right? Life free or die or how it's phrased
Live
in
free or
over
die.
in New Hampshire. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So okay. So in that sense, HMB, HMBIA actually has a rule in their policies that as a national org, you are not allowed to refuse any club or team or individuals from coming to fight unless they have broken the code of conduct rules. So the only way, we can't, it's not a code of conduct rule for you playing the game somewhere else. HMB is not allowed to ban you for that. We're not allowed to stop you from that. You're allowed to do whatever you want, wherever you want. Just when you come play HMB, you play HMB rules. That's the only requirement. Other than that, you're free to do whatever you want. It is live free or die. That is actually in the HMBI level rule set that we have to follow as the national org of HMB USA.
Okay.
That answer your question?
Yep, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, you're if you were to be elected and you would be official member of the USA board, you could go to IMCF, you could go to fight ACS events, you can go to ACW events, although I don't recommend it, but you could if you so choose. There's nothing. There are no those walls no longer exist in the United States as far as our organizations are concerned. The good ones. I saw another post. Yes. So, Dustin, that is true. If a specific venue does ban, in the HMB rule sets, venue requirements supersede the HMB rules requirements or the event requirements. For example, say for whatever reason the event said you can't fight on sand, you have to fight on mats. That would supersede the standard rules. Or say the event was using cattle rails instead of regular wooden rails. That's the venue giving the rules. So to answer your question, Dustin, that the venue always supersedes the national org's rules, essentially, or at least for the most part.
Maybe you're reading a different question. I'm a little. The one I'm reading is he's saying like an individual venue shall have the right to ban a fighter from a venue if that fighter has previously been banned from that venue. The only way that supersedes, like small events, sure, we can't. There's no real regulation on that. But at a national level, no. Look, if Clemson's holding nationals, and a guy who Larry hates, I have to let him come fight no matter what. I have no choice because I'm hosting the national event at Clemson. I have to let everyone come fight. Now, if Clemson's not a national event, oh yeah, I can tell Dustin, for example, to fuck off. There's no regulation to stop that. But when it's national, you have to allow everyone. You're not allowed to turn someone away.
Unless
they break the code of conduct.
The code of conduct, yes. Sorry, I gotta remember the code of conduct line.
But yeah, yeah. So, any other questions? Last minute stuff before we give them their closing statements. Anyone? Going once, going twice. How do we protect private venues then if they are holding the national event? So, so Dustin, for example, say there is a problematic person in the sport in your area. You guys have not allowed him to come to your local stuff. Write a formal complaint to the HMB USA board, right? if he has broken the code of conduct and he has done something to violate our our ethics policies, then he can be banned by the org, and that'll be a nationwide ban. But if it's just like, hey, this guy doesn't get along with my team or whatever, or this guy was dating that guy's girl now and they broke up, so now it's drama, we don't want him around. No, the national org will not ban somebody for that. But if you have somebody who's being sexist, racist, violent, stealing from other members, like something like that, the national org can ban them. And then it doesn't matter what the event is, that person's not going. But if he's just been locally separated and the national org doesn't see justification to ban him nationally, then unfortunately he would be allowed to go to national events. Hopefully that answered that question. All right. Once again, going once. Any other questions? All right. So we're a little over an hour and 10 minutes in. So let's give our closing statements. Just give a little blurb about yourself, campaign for a second, and say what you want to say before we get off. Alexey, you want to go first?
Sure. All my statements you can read in my Earth announcement I posted recently. That's that one straightforward or good worded. I will do anyways my events. I will do anyways open workouts. I will travel places anyways. Okay. I'll do my best to be a good host. I will be nice to everyone. I'll do my best on that. If you need opinion, my Facebook always for you. If you need any opinion how to start your own team, let me know, because I've been really struggle on that, but I already have success in that. Any questions, guys? If you have any opinion what needs to be improved in our region, I'm always open. Okay, talk to me. I want to hear from you. I want to do things for you first, not for me. Okay. I would run all these events, all these trainings anyways. Okay, no matter what the decision will be. Okay, this is only the matter. Will my word will be official or not? Okay, but I'll follow my path anyways. Okay, be cool.
Thank you, Alexey. And Jay, finish us up.
So I've made this sport my life. It is what I do every day. If folks are feeling like they're not being represented, I want to represent them. I want to make sure that folks realize that all of Mega City 1, which is, if you're a Judge Dredd fan, is this what this region is. I want to see them all represented nationally. I want to see them have the events that they want to have. I want them to have the opportunities to be able to do Boo Hurt League, to be able to go to Battle of the Nations, to be able to travel around the world doing things. I also want them to be able to go to IMCF events. I want them to be able to just go off to Ireland when they want to go to Ireland, right? And so I want our fighters to enjoy this experience. And I think that if I am elected, I'll be able to help the board with the years of experience I've had and dovetail some of this stuff in and basically move some HMB events into this region that are we already have 26 events on a calendar every year. So we could easily make, a dozen of those or a half dozen of those become HMB events if that's what the fighters want. That's the demand, right? And so helping on the board, I'd love to be able to help grow the sport with everybody. There's a lot of talent on the HMB USA board right now. There are a lot of good people there and a lot of folks that have the same goals in mind. and that's growing this sport, making a unified sport, and making it the best thing we can possibly make it.
Well, excellent. Thank you guys very much. It's been a long one. I appreciate you guys sticking through it. Otherwise, we'll put this up on YouTube later on. And thank you guys very much. We'll let you know. We'll stop recording.
Yep. Oh, well, leave it recorded, might as well, because I want to answer a couple of these questions so these people can't complain. But regardless, I want to say thank you both. I really appreciate both of you guys coming on here and doing this and choosing to run. I really, there's a goal we're all aiming towards, and you both clearly are aiming towards the same goal that all of us are trying to achieve. But on that note, I'm going to go answer these questions. Please, let's not have this taint the rest of the conversation. Oh, and one person left, so no reason to answer his question then. So, Colazo, for the women, they have multiple paths they can take. One, there is specifically a women's board representative, which is Christine Napolitano. So you can go to her. Then there is also the HMB USA rep women, which is Shayna Levy. So any woman who has an issue, has an issue with anyone, she has two paths to go, to the board level or to the international level. So contacting Christine Napolitano, contacting Shayna Levy, we've got you guys covered. It's already in the system. We're planning for, well, we're not planning for something bad to happen, but we have things structured to support the women best we can. And then it looks like amateur football came back online. There are no retroactive complaints at present. If someone has an issue with someone, they need to submit everything to the board, and the board will review it. I can't answer what the board is going to say or do, because we don't know what the board's going to vote and decide to do with a retroactive complaint. Me personally, I'm also, by the way, not a board member, but I'm the HMB USA rep. I don't think we can expect anyone to match the code of conduct before we released the code of conduct. That would be improper in my eyes. So you guys have a clean slate walking in my personal opinion. Answer that question for both of y'all?
Yeah, and there's, like I said, we've all learned that the HMB has actually an outstandingly few number of people formally banned. They tend to use a soft-handed approach. So there's a lot of people that don't get banned or whatever. They just don't participate anymore. But formal bans are actually fairly rare with HMB. So I've learned.
Yeah, it's more likely to happen from getting repetitive red cards than it is anything else.
Yeah.
And even those are temporary. So
I think that's all,
folks.
Popped up.
Yeah. Yep. I think we got it all. I just wanted to make sure that was all cleared up and nobody had anything that they could complain about afterwards. So, yep. All right. Once again, thank you guys. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us and giving us the opportunity.
Yeah, man.
Cheers.
Yep.
Thank you very much, guys.